Welcome to Sacred Stillness, a sanctuary for souls that are tired of pretending. This space was never meant for the loud and the proud. It was made for the quiet ones, the ones who smile while silently unraveling, the ones who make others laugh while breaking inside. If you've ever said, "I'm fine," with a voice that cracked, if you've ever told a joke to cover up the fact that someone hurt you, if you've ever buried your pain beneath sarcasm, humor, or silence, then this prayer was written for you. Because some wounds aren't loud. Some don't scream or bleed or leave bruises on the skin. Some wounds wear makeup and go to work. Some wounds post selfies and keep the conversation light. Some wounds say, "It's not that deep." But it was. It still is. Maybe you were laughed at when you tried to speak. Maybe you were told to lighten up, let it go, or stop being so sensitive. So you did. You swallowed it whole. You turned pain into a punchline. You made it easier for them, but heavier for you. Tonight, we stop pretending. Tonight, we take the mask off. Tonight, we say, "God, I'm still hurting from what I laughed off, and I need you more than I've ever admitted." This is not just a prayer, it's a release. It's a whisper from the part of you that's been silent for too long. And finally, it gets to be heard. So breathe, slow down, let the tears come if they do. You don't have to explain anything here. Just let the silence hold you. Let the stillness carry you. Let God meet you where the laughter ended and the pain began. The mask of laughter. They always said I had a good sense of humor. They liked how I could make light of anything. They admired how I could turn pain into punchlines, turn sorrow into sarcasm, turn a broken heart into a brilliant smile. But they never asked what it cost me. Because sometimes laughter isn't joy, it's armor. Sometimes the smile is just a shield, a silent way of saying, "I can't afford to cry here." I learned early on that if I made people laugh, they wouldn't look too closely. They wouldn't ask the hard questions. They wouldn't see how badly I was bleeding underneath the grin. So I became the funny one, the strong one, the one who brushed everything off even when everything inside me was coming undone. It's easier to laugh than to say, "That hurt." It's easier to joke than to risk rejection. It's easier to smile than to be met with silence, or worse, mockery. I wore humor like a mask, not to deceive others, but to protect myself. Because the truth is, I tried telling the truth once. I tried saying, "That really hurt me." But they rolled their eyes, told me I was overreacting. So I laughed instead and never told the truth again. The mask became second skin, and soon even I forgot what my real face looked like, forgot how to cry, how to be raw, how to sit in pain without performing through it. But underneath the laughter, there was always a voice whispering, "Please ask me again. Please see through the smile. Please tell me it's okay to not be okay." Because deep down, I never needed someone to fix it. I just needed someone to believe me, to sit with me in the ache, to say, "That wasn't funny. That was wrong. And I'm so sorry it happened." But no one did. So I kept laughing, kept entertaining, kept shrinking my pain into bite-sized jokes while the heaviness inside grew larger and quieter. And now, even in prayer, I struggle to be honest. I want to say, "God, I'm fine. God, it wasn't that bad. God, don't worry about me. I can handle it." But you see the mask, don't you? You know it's cracking. You know the laughter wasn't strength. It was fear. It was survival. It was silence wearing a smile. So here I am, trembling, mask in hand, finally whispering the truth I've buried beneath every joke. God, I'm still hurting from what I laughed off. The invisible wounds. Some wounds never show on the surface. No blood, no bruises, no broken bones. Just silence, withdrawal, a change in tone, a shift in the way I carry myself. Just enough to go unnoticed, but too much to carry alone. These are the wounds no one asks about, because they don't look like pain. They look like I'm quieter than usual, more distant, more tired, more careful with my words, more afraid of being seen. But the damage is real. You see, no one saw what their words did to me. They laughed and called it teasing. I smiled, so they thought I was fine. But inside, something cracked, something closed, and it hasn't reopened since. No one noticed when I stopped sharing, stopped trusting, stopped reaching out. Because the first time I opened up, they made it a joke. Or worse, they used it against me later. So I started stitching my own mouth shut, with every dismissal, every eye roll, every "you're just being sensitive," every "you always take things too seriously." And maybe I started believing it too, that my feelings were too much, that my hurt wasn't valid, that I should just get over it, even though I never got through it. These wounds festered in silence, unseen by others, unacknowledged by me. I minimized what happened, told myself it wasn't that bad. Other people have it worse. I should be grateful. I should be tougher. I should let it go. But the truth is, I didn't need comparison. I needed compassion, not someone to rank my pain, just someone to recognize it. Because pain doesn't need permission to be real. It doesn't need a visible scar to be legitimate. It just is. And you, God, you saw all of it, didn't you? You saw the exact moment I stopped trusting, the exact word that broke something in me, the exact time I smiled when I wanted to scream. And you didn't rush me to get over it. You didn't say, "At least it wasn't worse." You just stayed. In the silence, in the ache, in the unspoken weight I was too scared to name. So here I am, naming it now. These invisible wounds that shaped my heart, these hurts that altered the way I moved through the world, these quiet betrayals that taught me to keep things light, even when they were heavy. God, would you touch what no one else sees? Would you heal what was never acknowledged? Would you be the witness I never had? Because I'm still hurting from what everyone else missed, from what I told myself didn't matter. But it did. It does. And I need you to help me believe that now. Spiritual loneliness. I used to talk to you, even if just in whispers, even if just in tears that didn't have words, even if all I could offer was a tired sigh in the dark. But lately, I haven't said much at all. And maybe that's not because I stopped believing in you. Maybe it's because I started believing that my pain was too small to bring to you. Not dramatic enough, not tragic enough, not worthy of your attention. Because I laughed through it, because I shrugged it off, because even I told myself it wasn't that serious. And if I didn't take it seriously, why would you? So I stopped praying about it, stopped bringing it up, stopped thinking it mattered. I thanked you for the good things, tried to be grateful, tried to focus on the blessings, tried to keep my prayers clean, short, polite, positive. But in doing so, I left out the part of me that still aches, still remembers, still tightens up when certain names are mentioned, still rewrites memories to make them less painful, still feels like crying, but doesn't know how. That's the part of me that stopped showing up in prayer. The messy part, the angry part, the wounded child I told to grow up and get over it, even though she never really healed. And I've been spiritually lonely ever since. Because prayer without honesty is just performance, and I don't want to perform for you. I want to be held as I am, not as I pretend to be. But I forgot how to bring pain to you. I thought you only wanted strength, faith, joy. Not sarcasm covering sadness, not jokes masking trauma, not someone who isn't sure how to open their heart again. So I stayed quiet, and in that silence, I started to believe that maybe you were quiet too. But the truth is, you were never the one who turned away. It was me, hiding behind laughter, keeping it light, saying I was fine, even when my soul was crumbling. And now I miss you. Not the idea of you, but the closeness I once felt when I didn't filter my prayers, when I didn't feel like I had to be okay all the time, when I trusted that you could handle the heavy stuff. So here I am again, hesitant, shaky, unsure if I even remember how to be vulnerable. But I want to try. I want to lay this wound at your feet. The one I laughed off, the one I minimized, the one I was too ashamed to bring to you because I didn't think it was holy enough to matter. But if you really are who I believed you to be, then even this ache is safe in your hands. Please meet me here, in the silence I created, in the spiritual distance I didn't mean to build. Please remind me that I can be fully known, fully seen, fully loved, even with wounds that don't bleed, even when I laugh through my pain. When I said I'm fine, I said I'm fine, and everyone believed me, because it's the easiest lie to accept and the hardest one to confess. I said I'm fine, but I meant I don't know how to talk about this without falling apart. I don't know if you'll understand, and I'm not sure I can survive your indifference. I said I'm fine because if I told you the truth, you might look away. You might make it awkward. You might tell me to get over it, and I couldn't bear that again. So I wrapped my pain in politeness, pressed it into 2 little words, I'm fine, and handed them to the world like a shield, hoping someone would be brave enough to look past it. But no one ever did. They took it as permission to change the subject, to stop digging, to walk away. And honestly, I don't blame them. We've all been taught to accept surface-level answers, to respect boundaries that are actually barriers, to prioritize comfort over connection, to nod and say, okay, when someone whispers, I'm fine, even when their eyes are screaming otherwise. I became fluent in this language, this emotional shorthand, these empty phrases that keep everything neat and unspoken. It's okay. I'm good. No worries. It's nothing. Don't even think about it. But every one of those phrases had a shadow, an echo behind it, a truth I couldn't say. It's okay meant I'll deal with it alone. I'm good meant I've been numb for days and I don't know how to feel again. No worries meant I'm carrying the weight of this moment in my chest and pretending it's not crushing me. "It's nothing" meant "it's everything, but I don't think you'd care." "Don't even think about it" meant "please think about it. Please ask me again. Please notice that I'm bleeding beneath this smile." And now, after all this time, even when I tried to pray, I catch myself saying the same things to you. "I'm fine, God. Don't worry about me. There are people who need you more. I can handle this. I'm strong. I'm okay." But you are not fooled, are you? You hear the pain behind the performance. You see the breaking point behind the bravado. You know the truth I've hidden from everyone, even from myself. You know that sometimes I'm not fine, and I never was. So tonight, I'm choosing honesty, even if it's messy, even if it's uncomfortable, even if I have to unlearn everything I've ever said to protect myself. God, I'm not fine, and I don't want to pretend anymore. Please meet me here, in this quiet confession, in this cracked voice, in this whispered surrender. Hold what I can't hold anymore, heal what I was too afraid to reveal, and remind me that I never had to perform for you. I only had to show up as I am.
God, can I be honest now? God, can I be honest now? I know I've spent so long keeping it light, keeping it moving, keeping it surface level, that maybe even you forgot what my real voice sounds like. But I'm tired of pretending, tired of polishing my pain so it doesn't offend anyone, tired of minimizing what still hurts every time I breathe near it. I've mastered the art of sounding okay, of offering the right words, of folding my grief into gratitude so no one feels uncomfortable. But the truth is, I'm still bleeding in places no one knows about. Not because they never asked, but because I never let them. I built walls out of laughter, out of strength, out of little white lies like, "I'm okay, it didn't bother me, I've moved on, I've forgiven." But I haven't. Not all the way. Some parts of me are still frozen in that moment, still waiting for someone to say, "That was wrong. That should never have happened. I see how much that cost you." So here I am, coming to you raw, unfiltered, unsure. Because even now, there's a part of me that wants to soften this, to dress it up, to make it easier to hear, to say, "It's not that big of a deal, I'm probably just being dramatic. It's in the past, I'm over it." But I'm not completely. And I think it's time I stop running from that. So let me be honest. I still think about what they said, what they didn't say, what they laughed off, what I laughed off just to survive the moment. I still wonder if my pain was ever valid, if I ever had the right to feel as deeply as I did, if I was too sensitive, too needy, too much. I still carry the echoes of conversations where my voice was too quiet and my heart was too loud, but no one heard either. I still replay moments where I swallowed the truth because I was scared to be met with silence, or worse, a joke. I still cry, not because I'm weak, but because I finally feel safe enough to admit that it hurt more than I ever let on. So God, please let this be enough. This honesty, this cracked open heart, this trembling voice that's finally telling the truth. Don't ask me to explain it perfectly. Don't ask me to package it beautifully. Just meet me here, in the middle of this quiet confession, where pain and prayer finally touch. Let my honesty be my offering. Let my truth be my return. Let this rawness be the beginning of real healing. I don't want to perform anymore. I don't want to hide behind nice words. I want to be known, not just in my praise, but in my pain. So here I am. God, can I be honest now?
The whispered confession. God, I don't know how to do this part. I've always known how to pray the polished prayers, the ones filled with gratitude and good intentions, the ones where I say thank you for blessings and ask for help in neat, acceptable ways. But I don't know how to whisper what I'm about to say because it feels too raw, too vulnerable, too close to the place I've tried so hard to seal shut. Still, here I am, with nothing left to hide behind. No more jokes, no more deflections, no more I'm fine. Just this whispered confession. I'm still hurting from what I laughed off, and I'm scared to say it out loud. Because what if it's too late? What if I waited too long to admit this pain? What if you're tired of hearing about the same old wound, the one I kept pretending didn't matter until I couldn't pretend anymore? But I need to say it anyway. Even if my voice shakes, even if my hands tremble, even if part of me still wants to pull back. Because there are things I've buried so deep, they've become part of how I breathe. Wounds I never let air touch. Memories I never dared to revisit because I thought healing meant forgetting. But now I see healing begins with telling the truth, even if I can only whisper it. So here's the truth. I felt abandoned. I felt dismissed. I felt like I didn't matter. Like my hurt was too small to inconvenience anyone. Like my tears were unwelcome. Like my honesty would make things worse. So I said nothing, laughed it off, swallowed it whole, carried it quietly. And now it's too heavy to keep inside. So I whisper it to you, because I don't know who else would understand, who else would hold this without judgment, who else would see this as sacred, not shameful. I'm not asking for revenge or resolution or even clarity. I'm asking for you, just you, to be near, to see what I hid, to sit in the ashes of what I tried to burn away, to love me in the middle of the mess I refuse to admit existed. I don't need answers. I need comfort. I don't need to be fixed. I need to be held. So God, if you're still listening, if you're still here, if you still want the parts of me I tried to laugh away, then this is yours now. This trembling truth, this fragile confession, this quiet moment where I finally stop pretending. I don't know what happens next, but I trust you do. So I give you what I've never given anyone, my hidden ache, my carefully disguised grief, my honest whispered pain. Please hold it gently and hold me too. The tears that never fell. God, there are tears I was never allowed to cry. Tears I swallowed in crowded rooms, behind bathroom doors, under blankets in the dark, where no one could see me and no one would ask. Tears I held back because I was told to be strong. Tears I suppressed because no one else seemed to care. Tears I laughed over because it was safer than falling apart. But just because they didn't fall doesn't mean they didn't exist. They pooled quietly in my chest, built walls inside me, weighed down my breath, and turned soft places in me into stone. I didn't cry, not because I didn't feel, but because I felt too much, and no one ever said it was okay to let it show. So I learned to blink them away, mid-sentence, mid-pain, mid-collapse, to smile through the ache, to apologize for being too emotional, to clean myself up before anyone could see the cracks. Because where I came from, tears were weakness, vulnerability was a threat, and grief was something you hid until it hardened into something you could carry without complaint. But God, I don't want to carry this anymore. I want to cry. Not for pity, not for drama, but because something in me still needs to be released. Something in me still hasn't breathed since the first time I said, "It's fine," when it wasn't. These tears are prayers, the ones I never had the courage to speak. These tears are stories from years I kept silent. These tears are holy, not because they're beautiful, but because they're finally free. So if they fall now, as I pray, as I whisper, as I tremble, please don't wipe them away too quickly. Let them wash something clean. Let them speak where I've been mute. Let them soften what pain has hardened. And if they don't fall, if my body still doesn't know how, if the tears stay stuck behind my eyes, then please cry for me. Cry with me. Be the God who weeps beside the ones who've been told to hold it in. Be the God who doesn't shame emotion, but honors it, welcomes it, heals through it. Let these unshed tears be seen by you, even if the world never noticed, even if no one asked why my voice cracked, even if no one stayed long enough to see the truth behind my smile. You saw, you see, you still see. So tonight, I don't ask for strength to hold it together. I ask for mercy to fall apart. And if all I can offer you is the ache of what was never expressed, then I trust you can make something sacred, even out of the tears that never fell.
The laughter that hid the pain. God, do you remember all the times I laughed? Everyone else did. They said I was funny, said I was strong, said I always knew how to lighten the mood. But no one ever asked what I was trying to lighten, what I was carrying, what I was hiding behind that smile. Because that laughter, that effortless, well-timed laughter, was never just joy. It was a disguise. It was survival. It was the only way I knew to keep the room from noticing I was unraveling. I laughed when I wanted to scream. I laughed when I wanted to cry. I laughed so no one would look too closely, so no one would stay long enough to see the truth. That I was hurting. That I felt invisible. That I didn't know how to be soft in a world that only applauds strength. They thought it meant I'd healed, that I'd moved on. But the truth is, I was just good at making pain palatable. If I turned it into a joke, they could laugh with me, and no one had to sit in discomfort. No one had to offer real care. No one had to stay and listen when it got quiet. I became the entertainer in my own suffering, the comic relief in my own trauma. Because if I made it funny, then maybe I wouldn't have to admit how deeply it scarred me. But God, you never laughed. You never looked away. You never mistook my performance for peace. You never applauded my ability to hide pain. You saw the flicker in my eyes before the smile came. You saw the tightness in my chest, even as the laugh escaped my lips. And you didn't rush in to fix it. You just stayed, present, still, patient, waiting for the moment I would finally whisper, God, that laugh wasn't real. That joy wasn't full. That moment still haunts me. I'm tired of being the one who keeps it light. I'm tired of holding the room together while I fall apart inside. I'm tired of pretending that the memory didn't cut deep just because I told a joke to distract from it. So I bring it to you. All the masked moments, all the hidden grief, all the humor that was never humor, just pain dressed in something more acceptable. Because I don't want to laugh anymore if it means lying to myself. I don't want to smile if it means denying what still hurts. Teach me what it means to be real, even if it's messy, even if it's not charming, even if no one claps when I stop performing. Let me be known beyond the laughter. Let me be loved beneath the mask. And let my healing begin not with a joke, but with the truth that I'm still hurting from what they never took seriously. And I need you not to laugh with me, but to sit with me until I don't have to laugh to feel safe anymore.
A prayer for validation. God, I don't need you to fix everything. Not right away. Not even at all. What I need is for someone to tell me that it mattered. That what happened to me wasn't small. That my pain wasn't an overreaction. That my feelings weren't too much. I need to know that it wasn't all in my head. That I wasn't being dramatic. That I wasn't weak. That I wasn't wrong for being hurt. Because that's what I've carried. More than the pain itself, the doubt. The quiet, creeping voice that asked, was it really that bad? Maybe you're just too sensitive. Maybe you misunderstood. Maybe you should have let it go. And I tried. I tried so hard to let it go, to push it down, to bury it in laughter, to wrap it in logic, to silence the ache with perspective. Other people have it worse. It could have been more painful. At least they didn't mean it. At least it didn't last long. But pain doesn't wait for permission to be valid. It just is. And mine was. Mine is. So tonight, God, I'm not asking for justice. I'm not asking for revenge. I'm not even asking for closure. I'm asking for validation. The kind that says, yes, that was real. Yes, that hurt you. Yes, you had every right to cry. Yes, it changed something in you. Yes, you are allowed to grieve what no one else saw. I need to know that you didn't dismiss it like they did. That you didn't roll your eyes or change the subject or make me feel like I was making a scene. I need to know that you stayed. Even when I silenced myself, even when I smiled too big, even when I told you I was fine, but hoped you'd read between the lines. Because, deep down, I've always wondered, am I allowed to hurt for something no one else remembers? Am I allowed to carry pain from something they called a joke? Am I allowed to still feel broken over something the world forgot? And if I am, then please, let this be the place I stop apologizing for it. Let this be the moment I stop minimizing my experience. Stop making excuses for other people's behavior. Stop pretending it didn't scar me just because it didn't bleed. God,
Validate what I've never had the courage to name. Validate the way I flinched, the way I hardened, the way I pulled away, the way I smiled through gritted teeth. Because no one ever took it seriously. Until now. Until you. You see the pain I buried. You feel the weight I carry. You name what others ignored. And in that naming, I find healing. Not because the pain disappears, but because it's finally seen, finally honored, finally allowed to exist without apology. Thank you for being the one who never said, "Get over it," but instead whispered, "I see it. I see you, and I'm not leaving."
A prayer for healing. God, I'm not asking you to erase what happened. I know you won't undo the past. You never promised to, but you did promise to heal. And I'm ready, I think, or at least I want to be, because this wound, this quiet, hidden ache I've carried for years, it's grown too heavy, too loud in the silence, too sharp in the still moments when no one's around. I don't want it to define me anymore. I don't want to build my life around avoiding it, or explaining it away, or pretending it doesn't still throb when touched. So I come to you now, with empty hands, with a heart that's both weary and willing. And I say, God, please heal me. Gently, patiently, honestly. Not all at once, not with grand gestures, just in the way only you know how. Slow, steady, sacred. Start with the places I've neglected, the parts of me I abandoned because they reminded me of pain, the parts I numbed, buried, mocked, even hated. Start with the memory I keep skipping over, the one I rush past because I still flinch. Start with the moment I told myself it didn't matter, and let me feel it again. This time, with you beside me. Touch the wound, not to hurt it, but to honor it. To remind it that it matters, that it's seen, that it no longer has to fight to be remembered. And when the tears come, don't rush them. Let them speak. Let them carry out what words never could. Let them be the first waters of healing. I know this won't be quick. I know this won't be easy. But I know you don't heal the way the world does. The world tells me to move on, to forgive and forget, to grow thicker skin. But you tell me to come close, to be still, to bring even the shattered pieces and let you hold them like treasure. You are not in a hurry. And maybe that's what healing really needs. Time, attention, presence. So here I am, present, for the first time in a long time. Not performing, not deflecting, not pretending I'm already okay. Just here, broken, brave, asking you to begin what I never gave you permission to touch before. God, heal me. Not so I can forget, but so I can finally remember without trembling. Heal me, not so I can be strong, but so I can be soft again. Heal me, not to prove anything to anyone, but because this is the version of me that you've always loved. The one who finally stopped running and came to you as she is. The freedom to feel. God, somewhere along the way, I learned that feeling was dangerous, that it made me weak, that it made me difficult, that it made others uncomfortable. So I traded my feelings for acceptance. I traded my truth for peacekeeping. I made myself small enough to be digestible, quiet enough to be tolerated, strong enough to never need anyone. And now, I can't even cry without apologizing. I can't admit I'm overwhelmed without adding, "I'll be okay though. It's not that bad. I'm just tired." Because the world taught me that emotions are embarrassing, that sadness makes me unstable, that anger makes me unkind, that fear makes me irrational, that softness makes me a burden. But you never flinched at my tears. You never told me to calm down. You never rolled your eyes when my voice cracked mid-prayer. You designed me with feeling on purpose. You built emotion into the blueprint of my soul, not as a flaw, but as a form of connection to myself, to others, to you. So tonight, I want to reclaim that sacred gift. I want the freedom to feel again, without shame, without filter, without apology. I want to cry and not call it weakness. I want to get angry and not call it sin. I want to feel joy and not fear losing it. I want to sit in grief and not rush past it for the sake of comfort. I want to be fully human in your presence, unedited, unimpressive, unmasked. Because if you are the God who weeps, the God who grieves, the God who feels, then surely my emotions are safe with you. I don't want to numb myself to survive anymore. I want to feel to heal. I want to stop censoring my soul to make others comfortable. I want to stop labeling my feelings as too much, too sensitive, too emotional. I want to believe that what I feel matters, that my heart is not too messy to be held by you. So tonight, I give you my anger, my sadness, my confusion, my longing, my joy, my numbness, even my apathy. And I ask you to hold it all, not just the noble feelings, not just the tidy ones, all of it. I want to know what it's like to be loved by you, not just when I'm calm, but when I'm a storm, not just when I'm composed, but when I'm coming undone. Let this be the place where I learn to feel again, freely, fully, without fear.
Let me bleed before you. God, I've spent so much of my life covering the wounds, wrapping them in strength, tucking them under laughter, disguising them in distractions so no one would see how badly I was bleeding inside. I didn't want to be dramatic, didn't want to make it awkward, didn't want to be a burden, so I hid it, even from you. I thought you only wanted my worship, my gratitude, my best behavior, so I kept my pain polite, silent, invisible. But I can't do that anymore, because no matter how well I dress the wound, it still aches. No matter how long I pretend it didn't happen, my body remembers, my heart remembers, and you remember too. So here I am, for the first time, not trying to explain it away, not trying to spiritualize the hurt, not trying to smile through it, just bleeding, right here, right now, and asking you to let me. Let me bleed in front of you. Let the truth spill out. Let the rawness show. Let me be seen in the middle of my breaking. Not fixed, not figured out, not framed in wisdom. Just broken and still beloved. God, I bring you the parts of me I swore I'd never reveal. The memory I swatted away each time it surfaced. The resentment I hid behind maturity. The wound I laughed off so no one would know I was hurting. I bring it uncovered, unedited, unprotected.
Because I'm learning that healing doesn't happen where pain is hidden. It happens where it's witnessed, where it's welcomed, where it's allowed to bleed without being told to hurry up and heal. So don't close your eyes. Don't look away. Stay here with me, in the mess, in the wound, in the grief that's finally being felt. Let me bleed before you, until the shame runs dry, until the sorrow has room to breathe, until the parts of me I once hid know what it feels like to be seen and still loved. I don't need you to bandage me yet. I just need you to be here, in the ache, in the unraveling, in the truth I finally had the courage to lay bare. Because I'm not afraid of the pain anymore. I'm only afraid of carrying it alone. And with you here, I don't have to.
The God who never laughs at pain. They laughed when I finally spoke up, when I tried to say something hurt me, when my voice cracked and I said it anyway. They laughed because they thought I was joking, because I smiled at the end, because I'd always played it off before. So they assumed I was fine, and I let them, because it was safer to be dismissed than to be vulnerable and still unheard. They made jokes out of my confessions, turned my trauma into entertainment, rolled their eyes when I got too honest, too emotional, too real. So I stopped speaking, stopped trying, stopped showing the parts of me that still ached, and I became the version of me that made everyone else comfortable, even if it meant making myself invisible. But you, God, you never laughed. You didn't mock what others missed. You didn't ignore the tremble in my voice. You didn't applaud my performance and miss my pain. You saw it, all of it, from the very beginning. You were there when I first learned to smile through the sting. You were there when they called it drama, when they told me to get over it, when they looked away while I bled in silence. And still, you stayed. Still, you listened. Still, you believed me, even when I didn't believe myself. You never said, "It's not that serious." You never said you were being too sensitive. You never said, "Lighten up." You said, "I see you. I know what that moment did to you. I remember. I never forgot. And I never laughed." Because you are not the God who laughs at pain. You are the God who enters it, who kneels beside it, who weeps with those the world forgot. You are the God who stayed when others disappeared. You are the God who honored what others made light of, who saw the sacred in what others called small. And tonight, that means everything to me. Because I don't need a crowd to understand. I just need one faithful presence that refuses to look away. And that has always been you. Thank you for never laughing when I was breaking, for never finding amusement in my ache, for never calling my wounds entertainment. Thank you for being the one who stayed, and the only one who truly saw me.
A prayer to begin again. God, now that I've said it, now that the silence is broken, now that the pain has been maimed, what now? What do I do with the pieces? The ones I've hidden for so long? The ones I finally brought into the light? The ones that still don't know what wholeness feels like? I don't want to go back to pretending, to performing, to smiling through the weight of unsaid things. I want to begin again. Not as a new person, not as a perfect person, but as someone honest, soft, becoming. I want to begin again with less armor, less fear, less pressure to be okay all the time. I want to live from a different place now. Not from the version of me that got approval, but from the one that found peace in being real. I want to start again with you, in a rhythm that isn't rushed, in a life that isn't filtered, in a faith that holds both sorrow and joy without contradiction. So here's my prayer. Let me start from here, from this messy middle, from this sacred unraveling, from this bruised but beating heart. Let me rebuild, not on the ruins of who I was pretending to be, but on the truth of who I actually am. Let this beginning be tender. Let it be slow. Let it be holy. Even if I still flinch, even if I still ache, even if the laughter returns too soon out of habit, keep drawing me back to this place where I can breathe again, where I can feel again, where I can trust again. God, I don't want to restart my life. I want to resume it. From the moment I stopped being honest, from the place where I silenced my soul, from the time I decided my pain didn't deserve to be seen. That's where I want to begin again. And I believe you'll meet me here, not at the finish line, but at this fragile new beginning, where everything feels uncertain, but somehow I feel held. So I say it softly, but with all my heart. Let this be the beginning, not of forgetting, but of healing, not of pretending, but of living. Let me begin again, with you, right here, right now. Closing whisper. God, I said it. I finally said it. I named the pain I kept pretending wasn't there. I opened the wound I swore I had healed. I laid bare the weight I carried with a smile. And for once, I didn't laugh it off. I whispered the truth, and you listened. You didn't hurry me, didn't fix me, didn't silence me. You just stayed. Through the confession, through the shaking voice, through the fear that maybe this would be too much, even for you. But it wasn't, and you weren't. You were still here, still present, still kind. You held the part of me I used to hide. You honored the ache I tried to bury. You stayed gentle when I was fragile. You stayed close when I thought I'd pushed you away. And now, in this closing whisper, I feel a quiet peace. Not because everything is better, but because I no longer have to pretend it is. Not because the wound has vanished, but because it has finally been seen. Not because I'm whole again, but because I no longer have to break alone. So here, in the stillness, with breath slower and soul softer, I thank you for being the safe place I never had to perform for being the steady presence in the rooms where I used to shrink, for being the silence that never turned its back. God, I'm still healing, still learning how to feel, still unlearning how to hide. But I'm not ashamed anymore. And as this prayer closes, I know something has shifted. Not in the world around me,
but in the world within me. And that is enough for tonight. So I'll leave these words here, laid down like offerings, like scars that no longer sting, like tears that no longer beg for permission. And I'll rest, not fixed, but seen, not finished, but free, not perfect, but finally real.
The gift of being known. God, thank you for knowing me. Not the version I show the world, not the version I try to become, not the version I clean up so I won't feel like a burden, but the real me, the complicated me, the emotional me, the one who breaks too easily, feels too deeply, lingers too long on things others forget by morning. You know that me, and you stay. There is no guesswork with you, no audition, no trying to impress, no needing to explain why I flinch at kind words, why I shrink when someone says, just be yourself, because I'm not always sure who that is. But you know. You knew before I learned to hide, before I edited my feelings, before I started rewriting my story to make it easier for people to digest. You knew, and you never looked away. And somehow, being known by you isn't terrifying, it's comforting. Because in a world that asks me to simplify myself, to tone it down, to be easier to understand, you never once asked me to be less. You simply asked me to come close. And when I did, with all my fragmented thoughts and messy prayers and unfinished grief, you welcomed me. Not with confusion, not with criticism, but with peace. You didn't ask for clarity, you asked for honesty. You didn't ask me to be eloquent, you just asked me to be here. And now that I know what it feels like to be fully seen, fully known, fully loved, without shrinking, without performing, without explaining, I don't want anything less ever again. This is the gift, more valuable than healing, more lasting than answers, to be known by you in every layer and every silence and every place I tried to hide. So thank you for not just tolerating me, but cherishing me. Even when I laugh to cover sorrow, even when I withdraw instead of pray, even when I act like I don't need to be known. You stay, you know, you love. And that changes everything. When healing takes time. God, I thought healing would be faster. I thought once I prayed, once I told the truth, once I let myself feel, everything would shift quickly, cleanly, like a chapter closing. But it hasn't. Some days I wake up lighter. Some nights I fall asleep aching. Some moments I feel whole, and others I flinch like it just happened yesterday. And for a while, I thought that meant I was doing it wrong. That if I still felt pain, still replayed the memory, still had tears welling up unexpectedly, maybe I hadn't really healed. But you're showing me that healing isn't a straight line. It's not a checklist. It's not a one-time prayer and done. Healing is layered, circular, tender, slow. And somehow, that slowness is sacred. You're not rushing me. You're not disappointed when I revisit old wounds. You don't roll your eyes when I whisper the same ache again and again. You simply stay, patient, present, gentle. You don't demand progress. You celebrate honesty. You don't measure my worth by how fast I move on. You meet me right where I am, even if that place looks the same as last week. So if healing takes time, then let me be patient with the process. Let me stop comparing my progress to someone else's peace.
Let me trust that just because it still hurts doesn't mean I've failed. It means I'm still human, still healing, still here. And you are still here too. You're not waiting for me at the finish line. You're walking beside me in every faltering step, every tender pause, every tear I thought I shouldn't still be crying. So tonight, I laid down my timeline. I surrender my need to be done, and I choose instead to heal slow, to heal deep, to heal honestly. And if tomorrow I ache again, I'll come to you again. And you'll stay again. Because when healing takes time, you're not frustrated. You're faithful. The holy work of feeling. God, for most of my life, I treated feeling like a problem, like something to manage, to shrink, to suppress. I thought strength meant staying neutral, staying composed, smiling when it hurt, moving on before the grief had time to speak. I avoided my anger, dismissed my sadness, faked my joy, and called it maturity. But now I'm learning that to feel is not a flaw. It's not a failure. It's not a lack of faith. It's holy. You made me in your image, and you feel too. You grieve. You rejoice. You weep. You burn with righteous anger. You are not numb. You are not cold. And you didn't design me to be either. So why have I spent so long apologizing for my own emotions? Why have I called myself dramatic just because I feel deeply? Why have I called myself weak just because I cry easily? Why have I told myself to move on when my heart wasn't ready to? God, I don't want to silence my soul anymore. I want to listen to it, honor it, learn from it. I want to let my anger tell me where I've been violated. Let my sorrow show me what I've loved. Let my fear remind me of what matters. Let my joy rise without suspicion. Let my tears fall without shame. I want to feel and know it is worship, because feeling is what brings me to you, not pretending, not performing, but honesty, even when it's messy, even when it's loud, even when it's quiet and numb and confusing. You never ask me to be less emotional. You only ask me to be real. So I bring it all to you, the full range, the tenderness and the trembling, the ache and the awe. And I ask you to make it holy, not by changing it, but by sitting in it with me, holding it with care, naming it sacred, because you see it not as something to fix, but something to feel. And in that space, I begin to heal, not by escaping emotion, but by walking through it with you beside me, every breath of the way. I am not too much. God, somewhere along the way, I started believing I was too much, too emotional, too sensitive, too intense, too complicated, too everything. I began apologizing for my feelings, dimming my light so I wouldn't outshine, shrinking my sadness so I wouldn't take up space, filtering my thoughts so I wouldn't make anyone uncomfortable. I internalized the message that I had to be easier to love, that I had to be simpler to stay, that I had to be quieter to be accepted. So I softened my voice, smiled through the discomfort, laughed when I wanted to cry, and tried to become the version of me that others could handle. But it broke something in me, and I'm tired, God. Tired of editing my soul. Tired of apologizing for how deeply I feel. tired of trying to fit into spaces that were never meant to hold me. Because you never said I was too much. You never asked me to tone it down or toughen up or get over it. You never rolled your eyes when I wept or grew impatient when I spiraled or pushed me away when I needed too much. You simply stayed. You simply loved exactly as I was. You saw the depth and called it beauty. You saw the sensitivity and called it strength. You saw the emotional complexity and called it human. You never once told me I was too much. You only told me I was yours. So God, help me unlearn the lie that I have to shrink to be loved, that I have to silence myself to be accepted, that I have to be small to be safe. Help me stand tall in the fullness of who you made me to be, soft and strong, tender and brave, deep feeling and deeply held. Let me remember that I am not too much. I am just enough, exactly as you created me. And those who cannot hold me were never meant to shape me. Let this be the beginning of walking without apology, of speaking without fear, of feeling without shame, because I am not too much. For you, I never was, and I never will be.
A life beyond performing. God, I've spent so much of my life performing, not on a stage, but in conversations, in relationships, in rooms where I felt like too much and not enough at the same time. I've memorized the lines, I've learned how to smile on cue, I've crafted a version of myself that the world could applaud, even if it meant betraying the real me beneath the curtain. I've hidden pain with humor, softened sorrow with politeness, dressed up anxiety as being responsible, and called emotional exhaustion just being tired. But I'm done. Not with life, but with the act. I don't want to perform anymore. Not to be loved, not to be safe, not even to appear faithful. I want to live real, raw, unfiltered, unapologetically human, fully known, fully held, fully free. Because you, God, never asked for a performance. You asked for presence. You asked for truth. You asked for me. And I'm finally ready to give you that. Not the polished version, not the pain edited for others' comfort version, not this smile for the sake of peace version. Just me, the one who still flinches sometimes, the one who still aches on random Tuesdays, the one who sometimes believes deeply and other times barely holds on. That's who I want to bring into every room. That's who I want to be when I pray. That's who I want to live as, now and going forward. So let this be my final amen in this prayer. Let it echo not with resolution, but with release. The performance is over, the pressure is off, the truth is enough, and love, real love, is here. Not because I earned it, not because I faked well enough to deserve it, but because you give it, freely, constantly, even now. From this moment on, I choose to live as someone who's already loved, already seen, already safe. That is freedom, and that is where I will stay.